And we are back. It is Lou Diamond again here for the lovely live digital event for the Cornell University Forbes 30 Under 30. And we are wrapping this thing with an unbelievable bow as we have the pleasure of having the Kristen McClellan on the show. Kristen, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
First of all, congratulations on
Thank you.
being listed. I'm going to get the stuff I've been asking people later. How did you find out? Was it like a shock? Were you totally surprised? Did it come in as a text, or was it an email that you uncovered like weeks later and had no idea?
No, it's actually funny because people think you know so far in advance, and we find out with the rest of you. So it really is not. So I was actually at the gym, got an email, and I was like, well, this day is going to take a turn for a different way.
Well, it's great. I think it'll be great for the viewers to hear a little bit about this. You have an amazing company, a really cool business. We're going to tie it all back to how Cornell is looped into that for you. But can you share with everybody a little bit about SnappyScreen and how this whole idea came to be?
Yeah, definitely. So for those of you that don't know, SnappyScreen is what we call a touchless sunscreen application system. So you actually walk up to one of our devices, you can select your SPF of 15, 30, or 40, and in 10 seconds time, you're completely and evenly coated from head to toe with sunscreen, no matter what shape or size. And we've actually proven full coverage. We also made the sunscreen. So our sunscreen is alcohol-free, oxybenzone-free, PABA-free, and a clear continuous spray. So it doesn't harm any types of clothing. So you can actually go in our devices in golf gear or tennis outfits, not only bathing suits. The idea actually came to me because my sister is a horrible sunscreen applier, also a Cornellian. And we are business partners now, but she used to always get like the handprint or, you know, the streaky marks. And we kind of just had a moment where we're like, there's gotta be a better way. Yeah.
So let's go through that process because people have been trying to figure out how to evenly distribute sunscreen for a whole time. Yeah. Talk about what you went through, the research you went through from the idea to make, you know, there's one way of doing things where you say, I got a great idea and I know how to do it, but did you know all the things you needed to do to make this thing happen? Probably not, right?
Oh, no, not at all. So, I mean, the reality was what people don't really see behind the scenes is there were 6 iterations of SnappyScreen before we ever launched. So I really kind of dedicated my Cornell undergraduate career to like figuring out the R&D. So before it even was a business, and I'm what you would call a non-technical founder. So I really spent a lot of time learning off of things that I found familiar. So I do have a mechanical mind, but I bought a spray tanning booth out of a guy's garage on Craigslist, and I would throw free pizza parties in the engineering quad to get the engineers to talk to me. And then I would ask them to explain these systems so that I could be like, okay, what is a fluid system and how does it work? And slowly learned that my system was not going to be similar to that, but at least I understood what I was talking about. And kind of then spent my years, I had 3 prototypes while I was an undergrad, and my third one, I actually did my first trial period where we placed it on a property. And that's when we saw 400 people. It was bare bones basics, true like MVP, looks nothing like it does now. But we had 400 people use it in 4 days. So at that point, once I had that data to say people are identifying with this problem, it kind of then we were able to take the design to the next level.
So when you went through these different iterations of it, we always hear about the successes. Talk about some of the failures that you've had to go through during this process.
Oh gosh. I mean, every day was different. And I mean, for someone who is not an engineer, it was a lot of learning, like a huge learning curve. And then for us, the product is this marriage between 2 groups wants, really. You have the hotel who wants a certain thing. They want, it to be low maintenance and aesthetically pleasing. And then you have the end consumer who wants it to be quick and easy, but, feel like you have sunscreen on, and these 2 different experiences. So I would say a lot of it was the process of prototyping to learn, because we would put it out there and we would see someone stand too close to the nozzles or too far and not get even and be like, okay, we should add a rotating base, or, watch someone try to swipe a key card. What happens when someone's paying for it versus it being complimentary on a property? And all of those things together, had their moments of failure, but also taught us what we needed to do next.
Talk about the actual sunscreen itself, because obviously there could be lots of different brands that are out there. How did that mix get into the mix?
I I would say that mix got into the mix almost not originally in a way that I was like, hey, we're going to set out and we're going to create our own sunscreen. It more or less was a moment where I went to a sunscreen provider thinking like through private labeling in general and was like, hey, so like, what do you have? And they were explaining, and I learned a lot about chemicals. And I was like, okay, well, this is my list. This is my wish list of what I want my sunscreen to be. And I remember the chemist sitting there and she goes, but that doesn't exist. And it was a moment where as an entrepreneur, I was like, okay, well, if that doesn't exist, then this is where we need to start. Then let's make it. And she actually agreed. She's like, okay, if you want to contract me as your chemist, like I'm willing to take this leap with you. And it took us about a year to come up with the formula and make it so it can't stain your clothes.
And so I was going to ask that question from a usage point of view. Obviously you're wearing swim clothes or whatnot. You can direct the nozzle, so to speak, if you would, or on the way that it hits you.
So it's technically it's on that material, but you don't notice it. So we were able to create a formula that was so light, by like removing a lot of things, like how I just rattled off all those different chemicals that we do not have, and be able to then go in any types of clothes, and you really only feel it on your skin, and it won't damage it from, the exterior of your clothing.
Wow, it's amazing. The name SnappyScreen, where did that come from?
That actually came from when I first started at Cornell. Entrepreneurship was like starting to pick up a little, but the one event that they really had, now you have so many events, was the elevator pitch competition. And I was a freshman. It was November of my freshman year. And I saw a flyer for the elevator pitch and I was like, I'm going to try to make some friends. And I had the idea for SnappyScreen, and it said, in order to be in this competition, you need to name your concept. And I was like, literally running out the door, and I'm like, quick and easy and sunscreen, I'm going to call it SnappyScreen. And I went, and when we released our first prototype, people started referring to the application as a snap. So they were like, oh, so it's one snap and I'm done. And I'm like, so it kind of stuck. The sunscreen we call Sun Styles. So now we're kind of playing around with the different branding of both together, but that's where originally SnappyScreen came from.
We have a question here from Victoria Hathaway, class of 2018. Who helped you along the way as you founded SnappyScreen?
Oh goodness, so many people. I can make a list. But I mean, throughout the process, each phase was different. Like as I mentioned before, we had, at first I bought that booth out of a guy's garage on Craigslist, put it together in my backyard with my uncle, and then made a little bit of progress. And then my first prototype, it was actually the first MVP one that we placed on a property. I had entered a business competition run by the New York Stock Exchange and MTV. And actually there was an article about it in the Daily Sun. And one of my mentors, Dan Cohen, played golf with Sean Whitaker of Encodema in Ithaca. And Sean helped me build my first prototype that was custom up near Cornell. And I would go after class and I would work with his engineers to understand more. And that's where I learned like my first bit. But throughout my time, I mean, so many people from Cornell helped me along the way. My first trial school, I met somebody and I gave a pitch there. So it really was about just finding my way in the different industries and, finding the right people. And especially as a student entrepreneur, so many people are willing to help.
Totally. Someone submitted a question that I had the same one as well. It's come from Christine Hum, class of 04, MBA 2011. Did you love robots as a kid?
Honestly, like not in particularly, but there was this like first robot that came out that I remember wanting for Christmas, but I didn't like dabble, the way kids are like building robots and stuff. That wasn't me. I was the kid who was, drawing my ideas in a notebook, or like I was always selling something. Like I collected beach snails and I made flyers that said purebred snails, and bread was spelt like the food. I was always selling something. In regards to like the entrepreneurial spirit, that was always there, and the ideas behind products, but I wasn't a hardware kid growing up, really.
I got you. It was just one of those things I saw like this. I go, maybe she always liked robots, and who would have thought that they would apply that. So question from Pete, class of 98. Can you talk to us about sales strategy? Is this geared for theme parks, tennis, golf clubs, hotel pools? He could imagine some overseas markets would love this. Congrats and great work on all your success. But where are you gearing this towards at that level?
Yeah, so our core right now is 4- and 5-star hotels and beach resorts in non-seasonal locations. So we started in US warm climate and Caribbean. We get a lot of international interest, as he mentioned. So we get a lot of Dubai, a lot of Australia, a lot of Greece. So it's short there, you know, shortly behind for sure once we roll out this next bunch in the warm climate here. But we also get a lot of water parks, country clubs, public pools and beaches, day camps. So we're now kind of, you know, working through, once we roll these out in the luxury industry, what's our next step into that industry.
Do you have any patented technology around this?
Yeah, we have several patents that we've done over time. But I mean, I always tell students, you know, if you have an idea, you are capable. I drew my first provisional patent back when I was in college. So you're more than capable of doing the same, and definitely, you know, working towards it, because after that provisional, you have a year to work on what it's to become.
Jamie from Hotel, class of 19, Kristen, congrats on the 30 under 30. Talk about putting the team together and how things have changed over time at the company itself.
Yeah, I mean, things have changed so much, and they're ever changing. I would say, I mean, none of my days are the same. I would say for me, my sister's my business partner. So we band together. Kate was a consultant for IBM and Deloitte. We came together when she went back, they sent her to business school, and we started working together. So we've always had complementary skill sets. For me, working with a sibling is awesome, and we've always evened each other out. So, you know, a lot of people who are looking for that counterpart, it's not quite as easy for them. But for us, we've always, you know, been that yin to the yang. So it works really well. We have, you know, now started to hire, and going through that process is ever, you know, always different for sure. And how we pass off the first sales pitch for the first time. So I would say, even for me, we're learning. I would say it's a lot about finding your matches and giving yourself enough time to really try working with the person before really committing. Even, you know, having that experience of, you can tell with working together for 3 months time whether or not you work well. And this is my inner ILR, but it's so important to really find that small team that works well and is willing to pick up any pieces and not just concentrate. Because as a young team, we're all jack of all trades. And I would say I would hire someone who's willing to do a little bit of a lot than anyone who just wants to be, you know, set in their ways, for sure.
That's good advice. And along those lines, wrapping up as we get toward the end here, what are you looking forward to in the next year or so for SnappyScreen, for you? Obviously, using this 30 under 30 as a launching pad, where do you want to take it to? Yeah, so we are, I actually, as I mentioned before, this is launch week for us. Yeah. So we actually have the new iteration of the machine leaving our doorstep on Friday. So that's super exciting. The new machine's completely modular, so it makes our maintenance whole operations system completely change and be a lot easier. So we're growing, you know, decently quickly this year, and we'll be hiring. So anyone interested in that, feel free to email me for sure. So it will be a really, you know, a rapid growth, exciting year for us. We're gearing up to roll out our next 50 machines of this kind. So super exciting. Kristen, let's give all the plugs and places people can find more about SnappyScreen, social media, everything like that. Let's share it. We'll put some links out there.
Yeah, it's always at SnappyScreen on every platform. So on Instagram, on Facebook. And if you want to email me directly, you can email me at Kristen@snappyscreen.com.
Gotcha. Last thing, what do you miss most about being a student at Cornell?
Oh, goodness. So much. I mean, I loved my time at Cornell, and I just want to even reiterate even more that, like, when you're a student, and in particular a student entrepreneur, there's so many things to learn and so many different things to do and people to reach out to as a student that you don't have the same access to when you're out of college. So I always say take full advantage of that. And my rule of thumb was always take one course that just sounds interesting and has nothing to do with your major every single semester.
You gotta love it. Kristen McClellan, you came up with a business that focused on sunscreen, and you went to Cornell from Ithaca. We never even saw the sun, so kudos to you with that.
Thanks so much.
Congratulations on the honor and the accolades, and continued success with you and your business and your career.
Of course. Thanks so much, Lou.
You got it. Thanks for coming on.
Have a good day. Bye.
So hey,
I'm back.
Iori, we did it. We
finished.
We went through a lot of interesting, amazing, unbelievable people today.
And it went by way too fast. I don't know about you, but I feel like I needed like at least 10 more minutes with everyone.
Easily. We could have, I could have gone on with Kristen right there. Obviously, Jerome, we did have 10 more minutes. We stayed on with him for about 30 and he was a trooper. What did you find? I mean, there's just too much to put it all together. What was I guess maybe the one takeaway for you that you loved about speaking with all these amazing people today?
What I really loved is that all of the entrepreneurs were very empathetic. Right? Empathetic to the user, empathetic to the industry. And I don't know if that's a Cornell thing or, well, let's say it is. But that understanding of really designing a product that they're not only passionate about, but something that can actually scale and continue to help and change and transform industries and communities alike is something that I really took away. And I'm continuously inspired by that. That's a primary focus that everyone had. So that was really cool to see.
I think the thing that stuck out for me was modesty.
Yeah.
The level of just, I mean, this is a pretty big deal. And,
right.
And maybe they're still have not really digested it, or just, it may have been just one of those things that you don't really see the results. It's not like somebody handed you like the winning lottery check when this happens to you. But I think all of them recognize that the road that they came from has made them even better. But there's still so much more to do with it. So they're really very humble. Humbling was another word that came out a ton. And you could see it in the way they communicated and told their story today.
Yeah. And it takes some time to like get used to it. It took me a couple months to even like lead with it. A lot of people are like, you don't lead with it. You don't talk about it. And I think it's one of those things where you're like, when you're super ambitious and you have something that you're working towards, accomplishments along the way can quickly get lost. So anyone watching, I'd say, let's take some time to like sit back and realize our accomplishments, which is why I love this event so much. It gives us a space to celebrate Cornellians who've done something really big. So that's really great to see and be a part of.
Some of them weren't so modest, though. I mean, they did have it in their LinkedIn title right away, 40 under 30. 30. But I think this is great. So let's get the admin stuff out of the way here. I'm looking at my notes here. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on. First, we're going to give a shout out let's give a shout out to our production team.
Yes.
Because we couldn't do our job today without them. Those are the two Amandas, Amanda Massa and Hatcher. Mike, who literally just set everything up here from Cornell Tech team. He really, Michael O'Neill did a spectacular job. I know there were other people with that. So thank you guys. We thank you.
Thank you so much
for keeping us on track. Ashley Budd as well, obviously has been communicating and promoting this from the Cornell Alumni Association and the whole Cornell Alumni Association. Adam Mertland, who was sending probably more text messages back and forth across. I don't know if you saw it, but I did.
Yeah.
but the whole team in here really doing a great job. I want to thank every one of the people that we interviewed. This took a lot of time and coordination for them to stop what they were doing, come in, share with this alumni network. And that's the last piece I want to thank, the Alumni Network. How many people were submitting questions? We had a lot of viewers on. I don't know what the tally was, and I'm sure there'll be more on the non-live version. But they really, really were interactive. One of my interviews, I didn't have to say anything. I just kept reading questions.
Yeah. I think we also missed a Cornell team member. So Zio Grosset, thank you so much too.
There you go.
And then, the speakers for being honest and talking about things that, are maybe sometimes difficult to talk about, difficult processes like fundraising or coming up with the idea. Being an entrepreneur isn't always easy. And so being open and honest about that has been amazing. And also Emily Gustafson.
Yeah. We want to thank you, her too. And we also want to mention to everyone who's been watching this was all recorded. If you missed any of the sessions, either that Iori or I led with, and I highly recommend get a chance to see them all. I want to see the interviews that I already had because I got to miss out on that because we were ping-ponging back and forth. These were recorded. We'll send out links for where everything can be identified. You could find it through the Alumni Cornell Network. And this was a lot of fun. We're going to give a shout out also to one of the bigger programs. Fresh from the Hill is a podcast program that features some of the people that weren't on yet, but some people have been in the past. Who knows, as I'm highlighting here to Iori, that other guests might be coming on in the near future. Great podcast program that goes into a little more depth than we did here, just highlighting the Forbes 30 under 30. And what else, Iori? Did we forget anything?
I think we forgot about the Cornell Leadership Conference. That's also happening. So I think was it in Boston?
Yes, I think I got it here. It's going to be Young Alumni Party for the classes 2009 to 2018 at Back Bay Social in Boston, Saturday, February 9th from 8 to 10 o'clock at night. Regardless if you're registered for the conference or not, stop by for appetizers, Cornell giveaways, a cash bar, and bring your business cards. So obviously great. And there's a $50 gift card to Back Bay Social, and it's free admission. So that's
and then the actual conference is Friday through Sunday. So the Cornell Alumni Leadership, where you can get the opportunity to speak with alumni, participate in leadership training sessions, and then continue to plug in deeper with the Cornell Network.
Obviously, there's no surprise that I went straight to the bar and the cocktail versus the actual event. I apologize for the event coordinators there. Look, this has been great. You're a pleasure working with you. I got to interview you, which was fun. I got to chat with you, which was pretty cool.
Exactly. I'm glad we got to, connect for some more time. It was amazing.
And I think we'll just lastly put it out there. Listen, can't wait to hear more of these amazing stories, see where these Cornellians take things from, and hopefully you learned something, connected with them. And it was a pleasure, my honor for being here with you today as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this platform with me and engaging. And I think we all had a great time. So I think I look forward to more events, connecting with alumni and just learning about our unique stories that, show us that we're really more connected than we are apart. So
I think the only way to wrap this up is go Big Red.
Go Big Red.
Thank you.
Have a good one, everyone.